What's up, fellow Digimon fans? It has been a while since the Eastern Digital World Shambhala has been revealed through the release of the Virtual Pets Digimon Pendulum Color 6, Saiyu Warriors, and Digimon Pendulum Color 7, Touhou Braves. The Digital World Shambhala is a digital world that exists on a different server, which is heavily influenced by the East Asia region in the real world. It is part of the Digimon Null Canon, a term used to describe the general lore of Digimon. The canon originating from the Digimon Virtual Pets, Digimon Reference Book, Digimon Profiles, and related media, such as the digital monster card game Hyper Coliseum, which serves as the default setting and foundational framework for the Digimon franchise media. Today's topic is about the Digital World Shambhala, particularly about the Digimon groups in the Digital World Shambhala, moreover, about a potential Digimon group there, but before that, more context first. Along with the introduction of the Digital World Shambhala, it is also disclosed that there are a number of Digimon groups based on Chinese mythology and Japanese mythology that are native to the Digital World Shambhala. Above all, there exists a group of 8 powerful Digimon based on Sino-Japanese mythology known as the Tentei Hachibushu, literally the 8 weaponized warriors of the Heavenly Emperor, which serves as the guardian deities of the Shambhala under the order of Kunlun, the Shambhala's god and host computer. Other than that, there is a group of 4 malevolent Digimon based on Chinese mythology called the Shixiong or Shikyoju, literally for perilous beasts, which have existed since the earliest times during the emergence of the Shambhala. But back to the Tentei Hachibushu, this Digimon group is unique in being one of the few existing Digimon groups that has its own subgroups, namely the Sun-Air Ketsu Trio, literally the 3 excellent heroes, and the Sumyojin Trio, literally the 3 wise spirits. Before the Tentei Hachibushu, there exists the Tianji, literally the celestial pole, or the heavenly extreme, a group of 6, as of now, powerful Digimon, which based on Chinese mythology that debuted in the Digimon New Century game. Though in-game the Tianji serves Yggdrasil, the default digital world's god and host computer. It is thought that the Tianji, being the predecessor of an Eastern Guardian Deities Digimon group, more or less inspired the existence of the Tentei Hachibushu. In any case, a number of Tianji members have turned out joining the Tentei Hachibushu, specifically as the Sun-Air Ketsu Trio. It would be great if the Tianji is still relevant in the Digimon Null Canon, perhaps being consistent to its predecessor origin, and turns out to be a group that has since been disbanded and reformed into the Tentei Hachibushu. It is also plausible that due to incompatible values, the Sun-Air Ketsu Trio separate from the Tentei Hachibushu and set up their own group, that being the Tianji. Aside from the Tianji, other Digimon groups like the Shursin Sho or Seiseiju or the 4 Holy Beasts and their subordinate group, the Deva, and the Shurdarlong or Yondai Ryu, or the 4 Great Dragons, which are mostly based on Chinese mythology, would fit in the Digital World Shambhala very well. Though their lore have been ingrained in the default digital world for way too long, it may be difficult to simply displace. Yet, with lore of the Digimon Pendulum Color 6 Saiyu Warriors being integral to the Digital World Shambhala, the Pilgrim Party of Seiyuji or Saiyuki, the journey to the west seems to have been somewhat retconned of their lore. The party originally had been traveling from eastern region of the default digital world to the western region of it. Now it is likely their pilgrimage takes place in the Digital World Shambhala instead. There is also the Oriental Folklore Trio, or the Raifushue Sunjin, literally the 3 gods of thunder, wind, and water, which is mostly based on Japanese mythology and could fit very well into the Digital World Shambhala as well. Other than those Digimon groups and party, the Jutoshi or the 10 Warriors, especially the legendary spirits, could also be fitted in the Shambhala due to the union of all 20 spirits of the Jutoshi creates the super ultimate Digimon, Susanoomon, who contributed to the very creation of the Digital World Shambhala. According to legend, by Kunlun's order, Susanoomon destroyed the system that existed since ancient times. Then, with the power of creation, it rewrote the digital world into the current form of the Shambhala. It is impossible not to think about what the previous form of the Shambhala was. It would be interesting if it is the Digital World Shunjo, which originated from the Digimon Legendary Skies manhwa. There exists a digital world known as the Shunjo, considered the digital world of China, while the default digital world is often seen as the digital world of Japan. Okay, that was too much of a tangent. Now back to the topic. And so, it would seem that Susanoomon stepped back after it has done its part, and the Tentei Hachibushu have been summoned by Kunlun to take up the legendary Susanoomon's role of protecting the Shambala. Susanoomon was debuted in the Digimon Frontier anime and Battle Spirit Digimon Frontier game. Its profile mentions that Susanoomon is renowned in Eastern legend as the strongest god of destruction and the ruler of regeneration. It is said to descend when network systems experience abnormalities, rendering the existing system unto nothingness and creating a new one in its place. It is truly fabulous that after all these years, this facet of Susanoomon's lore is finally getting fleshed out. In addition, through the revelation of the digital world Shambala, Susanoomon has gained a new family in a sense, that is Amaterasumon. Among the Tentei Hachibushu, Amaterasumon most closely resembles the legendary Susanoomon, sharing several design motifs, such as a circular halo, a large golden spoked ring at the back resembling a Buddhist or Shinto halo, as well as two flame-shaped ornate crimson and gold pauldrons covering the shoulders and two long golden sashes with crimson tips streaming from the back. This is likely due to the connection between the two. Their namesakes, Amaterasu and Susanoo, are siblings in Japanese mythology. It is mentioned in Amaterasumon's profile that due to the ornaments on its body, it is rumored to have a connection with Susanoomon. Susanoomon and Amaterasumon are based on two of the three Shinto sibling deities. These are part of the Mihashira no Wuzu no Miko, also known as Sun Kishi, which means the three noble children or three precious children. They're also called Sun Kishin, which literally means the three noble gods. At long last, the true topic of this video has been touched upon, that the digital world Shambala could very well have its own version of Mihashira no Uzu no Miko, or Sun Kishi, a potential Digimon group based on the three noble gods. In Japanese mythology, the Mihashira no Uzu no Miko are the three most significant Shinto deities, namely the sun goddess Amaterasu, the moon god Tsukuyomi, and the storm god Susanoo. However, there are currently only Susanoomon and Amaterasumon. Tsukuyomimon has not yet been revealed, which is why here is a placeholder, fake Tsukuyomimon, designed by AI based on fan theories about what Tsukuyomimon might be like. This AI-generated Tsukuyomimon, as some may notice, is essentially the humanoid form of Gekkomon, the protagonist Digimon from the Digimon Beatreak anime. It is intentionally designed with recognizable resemblances to Gekkomon, even though the true Tsukuyomimon will likely be completely different and clearly distinct from Gekkomon. This placeholder Tsukuyomimon is designed to incorporate design elements shared with Susanoomon and Amaterasumon, like the large spoked ring at the back, as well as the flame-shaped pauldrons and the long flowing sashes extending from its back. In addition, it also features the symbol of Kunlun on its belt buckle. Moreover, to evoke the moon god Tsukuyomi, its design features numerous lunar motifs. Crescent moons can be found on the forehead, the massive back ornament, and the knee and arm guards. It is speculated that Gekkomon has a connection to Tsukuyomimon due to their shared lunar motifs. For example, Gekkomon's name is derived from the Japanese word gecko, meaning moonlight, while also being a homophone of gecko, which refers to small, mostly carnivorous lizards. Additionally, the crescent moon design on Gekkomon's forehead, the defining orange crescent mark, foreshadows a possible celestial ascension into the god of moon, Tsukuyomimon. It is worth noting, though it may not hold any particular significance, that the child-level Gekkomon shares some visual similarities with Wankomon, the child form of Amaterasumon. Both Gekkomon and Wankomon are characterized by their derpy, oversized circular eyes with large irises and barely visible pupils. They are also depicted with long, floppy pink tongues that dangle from their mouths, giving them a rather similar, playful, goofy expression. While these subtle similarities could be coincidental or simply reflect the design styles of the era, the shared traits could also hint at a sibling likeness and familial connection, especially when considering that their ultimate forms could be brother and sister. Moreover, it is likely that the Digimon Beatreak anime is related to the digital world Shambala, which could connect to Gekkomon's evolution into Tsukuyomimon, a significant Digimon of the Shambala. First and foremost, the Digimon Beatreak anime centers on the Shangri-La egg, which consists of a number of utopian arcologies that serve as the anime's core setting. Each arcology is shaped like a giant golden egg constructed around a central towering pillar, containing multiple concentric rings and internal structures. These eggs are built to be safe from any disasters and are regarded as utopias, reserved exclusively for those deemed ideal. As a result, tendency is highly competitive, leading aspirants to hyper-focus on hard work or achieve superior grades in order to secure a spot inside. Like the digital world Shambala, the Shangri-La egg is also named after the Sino-Tibetan mythical place Shangri-La, a fictional earthly paradise that was likely inspired by Shambhala, a term referring to the same concept and meaning a place of peace, tranquility, and happiness. There is also the Shangri-La Project in the Digimon Beatreak anime. It is a plan prepared by the World Union, the world's largest corporate consortium, to address the threat of Digimon evolution. Its purpose is to create an ideal world, one that is safe from fear, disaster, and existential threats. The Shangri-La Project is humanity's hope for survival and stability. The Chinese concept of wuxing is essential for the success of the Shangri-La Project. Wuxing, often translated as the 5 elements, 5 phases, or 5 agents, is a fundamental framework in traditional Chinese philosophy, medicine, feng shui, and astrology. It is used to explain dynamic interactions, processes, and transformations in nature, such as seasonal cycles, health, and energy flow. The 5 phases are wood, fire, earth, metal, or gold, and water. Creating this ideal world in the Shangri-La Project could very well be constructing a digital world where humanity can live ideally, free from real-world existential fears, one that could turn out to be the digital world Shambhala. After all, wuxing is essential to creating a harmonious world imbued with the balance and essence of yin and yang. However, with Gekkomon having evolved into the adult-level Armalizarmon, a drastic change in form, a complete redesign bearing little resemblance to a child form and entirely devoid of lunar motifs. Some now think that Tsukuyomimon may be out of reach. Yet the recent episode of the Digimon Beatreak anime showed Gekkomon being really into Jidaigeki, Japanese period or historical dramas, often set in the Edo period, 1603 to 1868, or earlier, featuring samurai, ninja, and historical figures. While Jidaigeki does not directly involve mythological figures like Tsukuyomi, its focus on ancient history and traditions still offers a glimmer of hope for possible connections. Anyway, as Armalizarmon, Gekkomon performed Nitoryu, the dual-wielding style it learned from the samurai in the dramas, though it is more of a parody of Nitoryu. Speaking of which, Armalizarmon's segmented, plated heavy armor somewhat resembles the modular, layered design of samurai armor, which is also segmented with overlapping scales. By the way, there was a real-life samurai who also bore a lunar motif, with a golden crescent mumurdite, the decorative crest on the front of his kabuto, the traditional samurai helmet. That figure was Date Masamune, a Japanese samurai and daimyo who lived during the Azuchi, Momoyama period through the early Edo period. Another placeholder here. Perhaps there could be a Date Masamunemon, or maybe just Masamunemon, the name that could also be a wordplay on Masarmune becoming Masarmuni, adding to the lunar motif. Either way, it would fit well as Gekkomon's perfect form, a perfect level samurai Digimon with a golden crescent moonmaidate on its kabuto, wielding 2 katana to reflect the Nitoryu style practiced by Gekkomon. And the perfect level Masarmunemon would evolve into the ultimate level Tsukuyomimon. It is known that Gekkomon is a gluttonous Digimon, eager to eat almost everything. Although in most traditional stories, Tsukuyomi does not have a clear connection to food or culinary interests, Still, Gekkomon's esurient and audacious nature could perhaps be somehow linked to Tsukuyomi, as there is a myth about Tsukuyomi's encounter with the food goddess Wukemolchi, where he is seemingly quite particular about food. In the myth, the moon god Tsukuyomi visited the food goddess Wukemolchi on behalf of his sister wife, the sun goddess Amaterasu. Wukemolchi, eager to entertain, prepared a feast by producing food in an unusual manner. Rice from her mouth after facing the land, fish and seaweed after facing the ocean, and game after facing the forest. Tsukuyomi, disgusted by the unclean way Wukemolchi produced the food, killing her in a fit of rage. This act in turn enraged Amaterasu, who valued Wukemolchi, creating a rift between the siblings. The death of Wukemolchi is said to explain why the sun and moon are never seen together. Amaterasu either refuses to meet Tsukuyomi or he hides from her in fear. If there is actually a Tsukuyomimon, perhaps it will have blades, scythes, or bow and arrows with lunar motif in the form of the weapon Zero Arms Wukemolchi, named after the food goddess that Tsukuyomi slain, just like how Susanoomon has the weapon Zero Arms Orochi, named after the mythical eight-headed serpent slain by Susanoo. And that sums up the theory on Gekkomon's future evolutions, especially Tsukuyomimon. Hopefully, there will be Tsukuyomimon, and it will be Gekkomon's ultimate form. The existence of Tsukuyomimon would complete the divine triad alongside the existing Amaterasumon and Susanoomon, forming the Digimon group, known as Mihashira no Wuzu no Miko, potentially serving as the greater guardians of the digital world Shambala. The Digimon group, consisting of Amaterasumon, Tsukuyomimon, and Susanoomon, would take on roles similar to those of the Mihashira no Wuzu no Miko in Japanese mythology, which representing the high deities, each tasked with the roles of ruling day, night, and the tides, respectively. Amaterasumon would be the leader of the group if based on the right of primogeniture. According to Japanese mythology, Amaterasu is the eldest sister, followed by Tsukuyomi, the middle brother, and Susanoo, the youngest brother. Among them, Amaterasu holds the highest rank and is traditionally regarded as the ancestor of the Japanese imperial family. Yet if the leader were determined by power, it would be Susanoomon. However, the dynamic within this sibling group is likely to be chaotic and fraught with frequent conflict if it is to be faithful to the myth. In Japanese mythology, the tumultuous relationship between the elder sister Amaterasu and the younger brother Susanoo is a central theme. At one point, Susanoo's destructive actions, destroying and desecrating Amaterasu's paddy fields and palace, among other impulsive tantrums of the storm god, drive the sun goddess to withdraw into Amano-Iwato, the heavenly rock cave, plunging the world into darkness. This myth is mirrored in the lore of Amaterasumon. Whenever there is an emergency or when its feelings are hurt, Amaterasumon transforms the ornaments on its arms, entering its Amano-Iwato mode. In this form, it cuts off contact with the outside world, causing disruptions to the sun system in the digital world Shambala, and causing the world to fall into darkness, much like the darkness that fell upon the world in the myth. Another example is the turbulent relationship between the sun goddess Amaterasu and the moon god Tsukuyomi. Although they are portrayed as siblings, some myths depict them as wife and husband, having a short-lived marriage that ended after Tsukuyomi killed the food goddess Wukemolchi. This act caused Amaterasu to separate herself from him, explaining the separation of day and night. Even though the conflicts between the siblings are well justified, they help explain how the world is structured and are basically required for reality to work. But it is still rather a lot of family drama for just three gods who are supposed to be siblings. In such circumstances, one would expect parental figures to intervene, offering guidance and mediation. On that note, the Mihashira no Wuzu no Miko do have parents. However, they are essentially retired, having withdrawn after creating the three siblings. According to the Koji Ki, one of the earliest Japanese chronicles, the Mihashira no Wuzu no Miko were born from Misogi, the purification ritual of the creator god Izarnagi. Izanagi bathed in a river to cleanse himself of impurity upon returning from Yomi, the underworld and land of the dead. As he washed his face, 3 deities were born. Amaterasu emerged from his left eye, Tsukuyomi from his right eye, and Susanoo from his nose. Their births are interpreted as reflecting their respective natures. The sun goddess, Amaterasu, born from Izanagi's left eye, symbolizes the sun and supremacy. The moon god, Tsukuyomi, born from Izanagi's right eye, symbolizes the moon and serenity. And the storm god, Susanoo, born from Izanagi's nose, evokes breath and snot, representing the wind and storm of wild, chaotic forces, respectively. Perhaps this birth myth could be reflected in the backstory of their Digimon counterparts. For instance, in their portrayal in the next Digimon story game, which is very likely set in the digital world Shambala. There are alternative birth myths for the 3 deities. In some versions, including accounts in the Nihon Shoki, the second oldest book of classical Japanese history, they're said to have been born directly from the creator gods Izanagi and Izanami, or to have emerged from the white bronze mirrors held in Izanagi's hands. After their birth, Izanagi entrusted the rule of the sky to Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi, day and night, respectively, and the seas to Susanoo. Thus, these 3 became central figures in the imperial Japanese mythological cycle, symbolizing dominion over the sky and the sea. To best reflect this birth myth in a Digimon context, it seems fitting that Digimon counterparts such as Izanagimon and Izanamimon should exist. Those are another set of placeholders for Izanagimon and Izanamimon. They are also AI-generated Digimon based on Susanoomon and Amaterasumon, which share strong resemblances as they all represent a mythological family. And that's all for today. Let us know what you think about this topic in the comment section. Liking the video and subscribing to the channel would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time. Adios.